Divulge, to talk or make known as something previously private or secret. Divulgence, a divulging. Docile, easy to manage. Docket, the registry of judgments of a court. Doe, the female of the deer. Dogma, a statement of religious faith or duty formulated by a body claiming authority. Dogmatic, making statements without argument or evidence. Dogmatize, to make positive assertions without supporting them by argument or evidence. Doleful, melancholy. Dolesome, melancholy. Dolor, lamentation. Dolorous, expressing or causing sorrow or pain. Domain, a sphere or field of action or interest. Domesticity, life in or fondness for one's home and family. Domicile, the place where one lives. Dominance, ascendancy. Dominant, conspicuously prominent. Dominate, to influence controllingly. Domination, control by the exercise of power or constituted authority. Domineer, to rule with insolence or unnecessary annoyance. Donate, to bestow as a gift, especially for a worthy cause. Donator, one who makes a donation or present. Donee, a person to whom a donation is made. Donor, one who makes a donation or present. Dormant, being in a state of or resembling sleep. Doublet, one of a pair of like things. Doubly, in twofold degree or extent. Dowry, the property which a wife brings to her husband in marriage. Drachma, a modern and an ancient Greek coin. Dragnet, a net to be drawn along the bottom of the water. Dragoon, in the British Army, a cavalryman. Drainage, the means of draining collectively, as a system of conduits, trenches, pipes, etc. Dramatist, one who writes plays. Dramatize, to relate or represent in a dramatic or theatrical manner. Drastic, acting vigorously. Drought, dry weather, especially when so long continued as to cause vegetation to wither. Drowsy, heavy with sleep. Drudgery, hard and constant work in any menial or dull occupation. Dubious, doubtful. Duckling, a young duck. Ductile, capable of being drawn out, as into wire or a thread. Duet, a composition for two voices or instruments. Done, to make a demand or repeated demands on for payment. Duplex, having two parts. Duplicity, double dealing. Durance, confinement. Duration, the period of time during which anything lasts. Duteous, showing submission to natural superiors. Dutiable, subject to a duty, especially a customs duty. Dutiful, obedient. Dwindle, to diminish or become less. Dyne, the force which, applied to a mass of 1 gram for 1 second, would give it a velocity of 1 centimeter per second. Earnest, ardent in spirit and speech. Earthenware, anything made of clay and baked in a kiln or dried in the sun. Eatable, edible. Ebullient, showing enthusiasm or exhilaration of feeling. Eccentric, peculiar. Eccentricity, idiosyncrasy. Eclipse, the obstruction of a heavenly body by its entering into the shadow of another body. Economize, to spend sparingly. Ecstasy, rapturous excitement or exultation. Ecstatic, enraptured. Edible, suitable to be eaten. Edict, that which is uttered or proclaimed by authority as a rule of action. Edify, to build up or strengthen, especially in morals or religion. Editorial, an article in a periodical written by the editor and published as an official argument. Educe, to draw out. Efface, to obliterate. Effect, a consequence. Effective, fit for a destined purpose. Effectual, efficient. Effeminacy, womanishness. Effeminate, having womanish traits or qualities. Effervesce, to bubble up. Effervescent, giving off bubbles of gas. Effete, exhausted as having performed its functions. Efficacious, effective. Efficacy, the power to produce an intended effect as shown in the production of it. Efficiency, the state of possessing adequate skill or knowledge for the performance of a duty. Efficient, having and exercising the power to produce effects or results. Efflorescence, the state of being flowery or a flowery appearance. Efflorescent, opening in flower. Effluvium, a noxious or ill-smelling exhalation from decaying or putrefying matter. Effrontery, unblushing impudence. Effulgence, splendor. Effuse, to pour forth. Effusion, an outpouring. Egoism, the theory that places man's chief good in the completeness of self. Egoist, one who advocates or practices egoism. Egotism, self-conceit. Egotist, one given to self-mention or who is constantly telling of his own views and experiences. Egregious, extreme. Egress, any place of exit. Eject, to expel. Elapse, to quietly terminate, said of time. Elasticity, that property of matter by which a body tends to return to a former shape after being changed. Electrolysis, the process of decomposing a chemical compound by the passage of an electric current. Electrotype, a metallic copy of any surface, as a coin. Elegy, a lyric poem lamenting the dead. Element, a component or essential part. Elicit, to educe or extract gradually or without violence. Eligible, qualified for selection. Eliminate, to separate and cast aside. Elizabethan, relating to Elizabeth, Queen of England, or to her era. Elocution, the art of correct intonation, inflection, and gesture in public speaking or reading. Eloquent, having the ability to express emotion or feeling in lofty and impassioned speech. Elucidate, to bring out more clearly the facts concerning. Elude, to evade the search or pursuit of by dexterity or artifice. Illusion, evasion. Emaciate, to waste away in flesh. Emanate, to flow forth or proceed as from some source. Emancipate, to release from bondage. Embargo, authoritative stoppage of foreign commerce or of any special trade. Embark, to make a beginning in some occupation or scheme. Embarrass, to render flustered or agitated. Embellish, to make beautiful or elegant by adding attractive or ornamental features. Embezzle, to misappropriate secretly. Emblazon, to set forth publicly or in glowing terms. Emblem, a symbol. Embody, to express, formulate, or exemplify in a concrete, compact, or visible form. Embolden, to give courage to. Embolism, an obstruction or plugging up of an artery or other blood vessel. Embroil, to involve in dissension or strife. Emerge, to come into view or into existence. Emergence, a coming into view. Emergent, coming into view. Emeritus, retired from active service but retained to an honorary position. Immigrant, one who moves from place to settle in another. Emigrate, to go from one country, state, or region for the purpose of settling or residing in another. Eminence, an elevated position with respect to rank, place, character, condition, etc. Eminent, high in station, merit, or esteem. Emit, to send or give out. Emphasis, any special impressiveness added to an utterance or act or stress laid upon some word. Emphasize, to articulate or enunciate with special impressiveness upon a word or a group of words. Emphatic, spoken with any special impressiveness laid upon an act, word, or set of words. Employee, one who works for wages or a salary. Employer, one who uses or engages the services of other persons for pay. Emporium, a bazaar or shop. Empower, to delegate authority to. Emulate, to imitate with intent to equal or surpass. Enact, to make into law, as by legislative act. Enamor, to inspire with ardent love. Encamp, to pitch tents for a resting place. Encomium, a formal or discriminating expression of praise. Encompass, to encircle. Encore, the call for a repetition as some part of a play or performance. Encourage, to inspire with courage, hope, or strength of mind. Encroach, to invade partially or insidiously and appropriate the possessions of another. Encumber, to impede with obstacles. Encyclical, intended for general circulation. Encyclopedia, a work containing information on subjects or exhaustive of one subject. Endanger, to expose to peril. Endear, to cause to be loved. Endemic, peculiar to some specific country or people. Endue, to endow with some quality, gift, or grace, usually spiritual. Endurable, tolerable. Endurance, the ability to suffer pain, distress, hardship, or stress of any kind without succumbing. Energetic, working vigorously. Enervate, to render ineffective or inoperative. Enfeeble, to debilitate. Enfranchise, to endow with a privilege, especially with the right to vote. Engender, to produce. Engrave, to cut or carve in or upon some surface. Engross, to occupy completely. Enhance, to intensify. Enigma, a riddle. Enjoin, to command. Enkindle, to set on fire. Enlighten, to cause to see clearly. Enlist, to enter voluntarily the military service by formal enrollment. Enmity, hatred. Ennoble, to dignify. Enormity, immensity. Enormous, gigantic. Enrage, to infuriate. Enrapture, to delight extravagantly or intensely. Enshrine, to keep sacred. Ensnare, to entrap. Entail, to involve, necessitate. Entangle, to involve in difficulties, confusion, or complications. Enthrall, to bring or hold under any overmastering influence. Enthrone, to invest with sovereign power. Enthuse, to yield to or display intense and rapturous feeling. Enthusiastic, full of zeal and fervor. Entirety, a complete thing. Entomology, the branch of zoology that treats of insects. Entrails, the internal parts of an animal. Entreaty, an earnest request. Entree, the act of entering. Entrench, to fortify or protect, as with a trench or ditch and wall. Entwine, to interweave. Enumerate, to name one by one. Epic, a poem celebrating in formal verse the mythical achievements of great personages, heroes, etc. Epicure, one who cultivates a delicate taste for eating and drinking. Epicurean, indulging, ministering, or pertaining to daintiness of appetite. Epicycle, a circle that rolls upon the external or internal circumference of another circle. Epicycloid, a curve traced by a point on the circumference of a circle, which rolls upon another circle. Epidemic, widespread occurrence of a disease in a certain region. Epidermis, the outer skin. Epigram, a pithy phrasing of a shrewd observation. Epilogue, the close of a narrative or dramatic poem. Epiphany, any appearance or bodily manifestation of a deity. Episode, an incident or story in a literary work, separable from yet growing out of it. Epitaph, an inscription on a tomb or monument in honor or in memory of the dead. Epithet, word used adjectively to describe some quality or attribute of its objects, as in Father Aeneas. Epitome, a simplified representation. Epizootic, prevailing among animals. Epoch, an interval of time memorable for extraordinary events. Epode, a species of lyric poems. Equalize, to render uniform. Equanimity, evenness of mind or temper. Equestrian, pertaining to horses or horsemanship. Equilibrium, a state of balance. Equitable, characterized by fairness. Equity, fairness or impartiality. Equivalent, equal in value, force, meaning, or the like. Equivocal, ambiguous. Equivocate, to use words of double meaning. Eradicate, to destroy thoroughly. Errant, roving or wandering, as in search of adventure or opportunity for gallant needs. Erratic, irregular. Erroneous, incorrect. Erudite, very learned. Erudition, extensive knowledge of literature, history, language, etc. Eschew, to keep clear of. Espy, to keep close watch. Esquire, a title of dignity, office, or courtesy. Essence, that which makes a thing to be what it is. Aesthetic, pertaining to beauty, taste, or the fine arts. Estimable, worthy of respect. Estrange, to alienate. Estuary, a wide lower part of a tidal river. Etc., and so forth. Eugenic, relating to the development and improvement of race. Eulogize, to speak or write a laudation of a person's life or character. Eulogy, a spoken or written laudation of a person's life or character. Euphemism, a figure of speech by which a phrase less offensive is substituted. Euphonious, characterized by agreeableness of sound. Euphony, agreeableness of sound. Eureka, I have found it. Evade, to avoid by artifice. Evanesce, to vanish gradually. Evanescent, fleeting. Evangelical, seeking the conversion of sinners. Evangelist, a preacher who goes from place to place holding services. Evasion, escape. Eventual, ultimate. Avert, to turn inside out. Evict, to dispossess pursuant to judicial decree. Evidential, indicative. Evince, to make manifest or evident. Evoke, to call or summon forth. Evolution, development or growth. Evolve, to unfold or expand. Exacerbate, to make more sharp, severe, or virulent. Exaggerate, to overstate. Exasperate, to excite great anger in. Excavate, to remove by digging or scooping out. Exceed, to go beyond, as in measure, quality, value, action, power, skill, etc. Excel, to be superior or distinguished. Excellence, possession of eminently or unusually good qualities. Excellency, a title of honor bestowed upon various high officials. Excellent, possessing distinguished merit. Excerpt, an extract or selection from written or printed matter. Excess, that which passes the ordinary, proper, or required limit, measure, or experience. Excitable, nervously high-strung. Excitation, intensified emotion or action. Exclamation, an abrupt or emphatic expression of thought or of feeling. Exclude, to shut out purposely or forcibly. Exclusion, non-admission. Excrescence, any unnatural addition, outgrowth, or development. Excretion, the getting rid of waste matter. Excruciate, to inflict severe pain or agony upon. Excursion, a journey. Excusable, justifiable. Execrable, abominable. Execration, an accursed thing. Executor, a person nominated by the will of another to execute the will. Exegesis, biblical exposition or interpretation. Exemplar, a model, pattern, or original to be copied or imitated. Exemplary, fitted to serve as a model or example worthy of imitation. Exemplify, to show by example. Exempt, free, clear, or released as from some liability or restriction affecting others. Exert, to make an effort. Exhale, to breathe forth. Exhaust, to empty by draining off the contents. Exhaustible, causing or tending to cause exhaustion. Exhaustion, deprivation of strength or energy. Exhaustive, thorough and complete in execution. Exhilarate, to fill with high or cheerful spirits. Exhume, to dig out of the earth, one has been buried. Exigency, a critical period or condition. Exigent, urgent. Existence, possession or continuance of being. Exit, a way or passage out. Exodus, a going forth or departure from a place or country, especially of many people. Exonerate, to relieve or vindicate from accusation, imputation, or blame. Exorbitance, extravagance or enormity. Exorbitant, going beyond usual and proper limits. Exorcise, to cast or drive out by religious or magical means. Exotic, foreign. Expand, to increase in range or scope. Expanse, a continuous area or stretch. Expansion, increase of amount, size, scope, or the like. Expatriate, to drive from one's own country. Expect, to look forward to as certain or probable. Expectancy, the act or state of looking forward to as certain or probable. Expectorate, to cough up and spit forth. Expediency, fitness to meet the requirements of a particular case. Expedient, contributing to personal advantage. Expedite, to hasten the movement or progress of. Expeditious, speedy. Expend, to spend. Spend. Expense, the laying out or expending of money or other resources as time or strength. Expiate, to make satisfaction or amends for. Explicate, to clear from involvement. Explicit, definite. Explode, to cause to burst in pieces by force from within. Explosion, a sudden and violent outbreak. Explosive, pertaining to a sudden and violent outbreak. Exposition, formal presentation. Expository, pertaining to a formal presentation. Expostulate, to discuss. Exposure, an open situation or position in relation to the sun, elements, or points of the compass. Expressive, full of meaning. Expulsion, forcible ejection. Extant, still existing and known. Extemporaneous, done or made without much or any preparation. Extempore, without studied or special preparation. Extensible, capable of being thrust out. Extension, a reaching or stretching out as in space, time, or scope. Extensive, extended widely in space, time, or scope. Extensor, a muscle that causes extension. Extenuate, to diminish the gravity or importance of. Exterior, that which is outside. External, anything relating or belonging to the outside. Extinct, being no longer in existence. Extinguish, to render extinct. Extol, to praise in the highest terms. Extort, to obtain by violence, threats, compulsion, or the subjection of another to some necessity. Extortion, the practice of obtaining by violence or compulsion. Extradite, to surrender the custody of. Extradition, the surrender by a government of a person accused of crime to the justice of another government. Extrajudicial, happening out of court. Extraneous, having no essential relation to a subject. Extraordinary, unusual. Extravagance, undue expenditure of money. Extravagant, needlessly free or lavish in expenditure. Extremist, one who supports extreme measures or holds extreme views. Extremity, the utmost point, side, or border, or that farthest removed from a mean position. Extricate, disentangle. Extrude, to drive out or away. Exuberance, rich supply. Exuberant, marked by great plentifulness. Fabricate, to invent fancifully or falsely. Fabulous, incredible. Facet, one of the small triangular plane surfaces of a diamond or other gem. Facetious, amusing. Facial, pertaining to the face. Facile, not difficult to do. Facilitate, to make more easy. Facility, ease. Facsimile, an exact copy or reproduction. Faction, a number of persons combined for a common purpose. Factious, turbulent. Fallacious, illogical. Fallacy, any unsound or delusive mode of reasoning or anything based on such reasoning. Fallible, capable of erring. Fallow, land broken up and left to become mellow or to rest. Famish, to suffer extremity of hunger or thirst. Fanatic, a religious zealot. Fancier, one having a taste for or interest in special objects. Fanciless, unimaginative. Fastidious, hard to please. Fathom, a measure of length, 6 feet. Fatuous, idiotic. Faulty, imperfect. Faun, one of a class of deities of the woods and herds represented as half human with goat's feet. Fawn, a young deer. Fealty, loyalty. Feasible, that which may be done, performed, or effected, practicable. Federate, to league together. Feint, any sham, pretense, or deceptive movement. Facilitate, to wish joy or happiness to, especially in view of a coming event. Felicity, a state of well-founded happiness. Felon, a criminal or depraved person. Felonious, showing criminal or evil purpose. Felony, one of the highest class of offenses and punishable with death or imprisonment. Feminine, characteristic of a woman or womankind. Fernery, a place in which ferns are grown. Ferocious, of a wild, fierce, and savage nature. Ferocity, savageness. Fervent, ardent in feeling. Fervid, intense. Fervor, ardor or intensity of feeling. Festal, joyous. Festive, merry. Fete, a festival or feast. Fetus, the young in the womb or in the egg. Feudal, pertaining to the relation of lord and vassal. Feudalism, the feudal system. Fez, a brimless felt cap in the shape of a truncated cone, usually red with a black tassel. Fiasco, a complete or humiliating failure. Fickle, unduly changeable in feeling, judgment, or purpose. Fictitious, created or formed by the imagination. Fidelity, loyalty. Fiducial, indicative of faith or trust. Fief, a landed estate held under feudal tenure. Filibuster, one who attempts to obstruct legislation. Finale, concluding performance. Finality, the state or quality of being final or complete. Finally, at last. Financial, monetary. Financier, one skilled in or occupied with financial affairs or operations. Finery, that which is used to decorate the person or dress. Finesse, subtle contrivance used to gain a point. Finite, limited. Fiscal, pertaining to the treasury or public finances of a government. Fishmonger, one who sells fish. Fissure, a crack or crack-like depression. Fitful, spasmodic. Fixture, one who or that which is expected to remain permanently in its position. Flag officer, the captain of a flagship. Flagrant, openly scandalous. Flamboyant, characterized by extravagance and in general by want of good taste. Flatulence, accumulation of gas in the stomach and bowels. Flexion, the act of bending. Fledgling, a young bird. Flexible, pliable. Flimsy, thin and weak. Flippant, having a light, pert, trifling disposition. Flow, a collection of tabular masses of floating polar ice. Flora, the aggregate of plants growing without cultivation in a district. Floral, pertaining to flowers. Florid, flushed with red. Florist, a dealer in flowers. Fluctuate, to pass backward and forward irregularly from one state or degree to another. Fluctuation, frequent irregular change back and forth from one state or degree to another. Flue, a smoke duct in a chimney. Fluent, having a ready or easy flow of words or ideas. Fluential, pertaining to streams. Flux, a state of constant movement, change, or renewal. Foggy, obscure. Foible, a personal weakness or failing. Foist, to palm off. Foliage, any growth of leaves. Folio, a sheet of paper folded once or of a size adapted to folding once. Folklore, the traditions, beliefs, and customs of the common people. Fondle, to handle tenderly and lovingly. Foolery, folly. Footnote, a note of explanation or comment at the foot of a page or column. Foppery, dandyism. Foppish, characteristic of one who is unduly devoted to dress and the niceties of manners. Forbearance, patient endurance or toleration of offenses. Forby, besides. Forcible, violent. Forecourt, a court opening directly from the street. Forejudge, to judge of before hearing evidence. Forepeak, the extreme forward part of a ship's hold under the lowest deck. Foreshore, that part of a shore uncovered at low tide. Forebode, to be an omen or warning sign of, especially of evil. Forecast, to predict. Forecastle, that part of the upper deck of a ship forward of the after foreshrouds. Foreclose, to bar by judicial proceedings the equitable right of a mortgager to redeem property. Forefather, an ancestor. Forego, to deny oneself the pleasure or profit of. Foreground, that part of a landscape or picture situated or represented as nearest the spectator. Forehead, the upper part of the face between the eyes and the hair. Foreign, belonging to, situated in, or derived from another country. Foreigner, a citizen of a foreign country. Foreknowledge, prescience. Foreman, the head man. Foreordain, to predetermine. Foreordination, predestination. Forerun, to go before, as introducing or ushering in. Foresail, a square sail. Foresee, to discern beforehand. Foresight, provision against harm or need. Foretell, to predict. Forethought, premeditation. Forfeit, to lose possession of through failure to fulfill some obligation. Forfend, to ward off. Forgery, counterfeiting. Forego, to deny oneself. Formation, relative disposition of parts. Formidable, difficult to accomplish. Formula, fixed rule or set form. Forswear, to renounce upon oath. Forte, a strong point. Forth, into notice or view. Forthright, with directness. Fortify, to provide with defensive works. Fortitude, patient courage. Foursome, consisting of four. Fracture, a break. Fragile, easily broken. Frailty, liability to be broken or destroyed. Frankincense, a gum or resin which on burning yields aromatic fumes. Frantic, frenzied. Fraternal, brotherly. Fraudulence, deceitfulness. Fraudulent, counterfeit. Fray, to fret at the edge so as to loosen or break the threads. Freemason, a member of an ancient secret fraternity originally confined to skilled artisans. Freethinker, one who rejects authority or inspiration in religion. Free trade, commerce unrestricted by tariff or customs. Frequency, the comparative number of any kind of occurrences within a given time or space. Fresco, the art of painting on a surface of plaster, particularly on walls and ceilings. Freshness, the state, quality, or degree of being fresh. Fretful, disposed to peevishness. Frightful, apt to induce terror or alarm. Frigid, lacking warmth. Frigidarium, a room kept at a low temperature for preserving fruits, meat, etc. Frivolity, a trifling act, thought, saying, or practice. Frivolous, trivial. Frizz, to give a crinkled, fluffy appearance to. Frizzle, to cause to crinkle or curl, as the hair. Frolicsome, prankish. Frontier, the part of a nation's territory that abuts upon another country. Frowsy, slovenly in appearance. Frugal, economical. Fruition, fulfillment. Fugacious, fleeting. Fulcrum, the support on or against which a lever rests, or the point about which it turns. Fulminate, to cause to explode. Fulsome, offensive from excess of praise or commendation. Fumigate, to subject to the action of smoke or fumes, especially for disinfection. Functionary, an official. Fundamental, basal. Fungible, that may be measured, counted, or weighed. Fungus, spongy. Fungus, a plant destitute of chlorophyll, as a mushroom. Furbish, to restore brightness or beauty to. Furlong, a measure, 1/8 of a mile. Furlough, a temporary absence of a soldier or sailor by permission of the commanding officer. Furrier, a dealer in or maker of fur goods. Further, more distant or advanced. Furtherance, advancement. Furtive, stealthy or sly, like the actions of a thief. Fuse, to unite or blend as by melting together. Fusible, capable of being melted by heat. Futile, of no avail or effect. Futurist, a person of expectant temperament. Gauge, an instrument for measuring. Gaiety, festivity. Gaily, merrily. Gait, carriage of the body in going. Gallant, possessing a brave or chivalrous spirit. Galore, abundant. Galvanic, pertaining or relating to electricity produced by chemical action. Galvanism, current electricity, especially that arising from chemical action. Galvanize, to imbue with life or animation. Gamble, to risk money or other possession on an event, chance, or contingency. Gambol, playful leaping or frisking. Gamester, a gambler. Gamut, the whole range or sequence. Garnish, in cookery to surround with additions for embellishment. Garrison, the military force stationed in a fort, town, or other place for its defense. Garrote, to execute by strangling. Garrulous, given to constant trivial talking. Gaseous, light and unsubstantial. Gastric, of pertaining to or near the stomach. Gastritis, inflammation of the stomach. Gastronomy, the art of preparing and serving appetizing food. Food. Gendarme, in continental Europe, particularly in France, a uniformed and armed police officer. Genealogy, a list in the order of succession of ancestors and their descendants. Genealogist, a tracer of pedigrees. Generality, the principal portion. Generalize, to draw general inferences. Generally, ordinarily. Generate, to produce or cause to be. Generic, noting a genus or kind, opposed to specific. Generosity, a disposition to give liberally or to bestow favors heartily. Genesis, creation. Geniality, warmth and kindliness of disposition. Genital, of or pertaining to the animal reproductive organs. Genitive, indicating source, origin, possession, or the like. Genteel, well-bred or refined. Gentile, belonging to a people not Jewish. Geology, the department of natural science that treats of the constitution and structure of the earth. Germane, relevant. Germinate, to begin to develop into an embryo or higher form. Gestation, pregnancy. Gesticulate, to make gestures or motions as in speaking or in place of speech. Gesture, a movement or action of the hands or face, expressive of some idea or emotion. Ghastly, hideous. Jibe, to utter taunts or reproaches. Giddy, affected with a whirling or swimming sensation in the head. Gigantic, tremendous. Giver, one who gives in any sense. Glacial, icy or icily cold. Glacier, a field or stream of ice. Gladden, to make joyous. Glazier, one who cuts and fits panes of glass, as for windows. Glimmer, a faint, wavering, unsteady light. Glimpse, a momentary look. Globose, spherical. Globular, spherical. Glorious, of excellence and splendor. Glutinous, sticky. Gluttonous, given to excess in eating. Gnash, to grind or strike the teeth together, as from rage. Gordian knot, any difficulty the only issue out of which is by bold or unusual manners. Gourmand, a connoisseur in the delicacies of the table. Gosling, a young goose. Gossamer, flimsy. Gourd, a melon, pumpkin, squash, or some similar fruit having a hard rind. Graceless, ungracious. Gradation, a steep degree, rank, or relative position in an order or series. Gradient, moving or advancing by steps. Granary, a storehouse for grain after it is thrashed or husked. Grandeur, the quality of being grand or admirably great. Grandiloquent, speaking in or characterized by a pompous or bombastic style. Grandiose, having an imposing style or effect. Grantee, the person to whom property is transferred by deed. Grantor, the maker of a deed. Granular, composed of small grains or particles. Granulate, to form into grains or small particles. Granule, a small grain or particle. Grapple, to take hold of. Gratification, satisfaction. Gratify, to please as by satisfying a physical or mental desire or need. Gratuitous, voluntarily. Gratuity, that which is given without demand or claim, tip. Gravity, seriousness. Gregarious, not habitually solitary or living alone. Grenadier, a member of a regiment composed of men of great stature. Grief, sorrow. Grievance, that which oppresses, injures, or causes grief, and at the same time a sense of wrong. Grievous, creating affliction. Grimace, a distortion of the features occasioned by some feeling of pain, disgust, etc. Grindstone, a flat circular tone used for sharpening tools. Grisly, fear-inspiring. Grotesque, incongruously composed or ill-proportioned. Grotto, a small cavern. Ground, a pavement or floor or any supporting surface on which one may walk. Guess, surmise. Guile, duplicity. Guileless, frank. Guinea, an English monetary unit. Guise, the external appearance as produced by garb or costume. Gullible, credulous. Gumption, common sense. Gusto, keen enjoyment. Guy, stay rope. Guzzle, to swallow greedily or hastily, to gulp. Gynecocracy, female supremacy. Gynecology, the science that treats of the functions and diseases peculiar to women. Gyrate, to revolve. Gyroscope, an instrument for illustrating the laws of rotation. Habitable, fit to be dwelt in. Habitant, dweller. Habitual, according to usual practice. Habitude, customary relation or association. Hackney, to make stale or trite by repetition. Haggard, worn and gaunt in appearance. Halcyon, calm. Hale, of sound and vigorous health. Handwriting, penmanship. Hanger-on, a parasite. Happy-go-lucky, improvident. Harangue, a tirade. Harass, to trouble with importunities, cares, or annoyances. Harbinger, one who or that which foreruns and announces the coming of any person or thing. Hard-hearted, lacking pity or sympathy. Hardihood, foolish daring. Harmonious, concordant in sound. Havoc, devastation. Hawthorn, a thorny shrub much used in England for hedges. Hazard, risk. Head first, precipitately, as in diving. Head foremost, precipitately, as in diving. Heartrending, very depressing. Heathenish, irreligious. Heedless, thoughtless. Heifer, a young cow. Heinous, odiously sinful. Hemorrhage, discharge of blood from a ruptured or wounded blood vessel. Hemorrhoids, tumors composed of enlarged and thickened blood vessels at the lower end of the rectum. Henchman, a servile assistant and subordinate. Henpeck, to worry or harass by ill temper and petty annoyances. Heptagon, a figure having 7 sides and 7 angles. Heptarchy, a group of 7 governments. Herbaceous, having the character of an herb. Herbarium, a collection of dried plants scientifically arranged for study. Herbivorous, feeding on herbs or other vegetable matter as animals. Hereditary, passing naturally from parent to child. Heredity, transmission of physical or mental qualities, diseases, etc. from parent to offspring. Heresy, an opinion or doctrine subversive of settled beliefs or accepted principles. Heretic, one who holds opinions contrary to the recognized standards or tenets of any philosophy. Heritage, birthright. Hernia, protrusion of any internal organ in whole or in part from its normal position. Hesitancy, a pausing to consider. Hesitant, vacillating. Hesitation, vacillation. Heterodox, at variance with any commonly accepted doctrine or opinion. Heterogeneity, unlikeness of constituent parts. Heterogeneous, consisting of dissimilar elements or ingredients of different kinds. Heteromorphic, deviating from the normal form or standard type. Hexangular, having 6 angles. Hexapod, having 6 feet. Hexagon, a figure with 6 angles. Hiatus, a break or vacancy where something necessary to supply the connection is wanting. Hibernal, pertaining to winter. Hibernian, pertaining to Ireland or its people. Hideous, appalling. Hilarious, boisterously merry. Hillock, a small hill or mound. Hinder, to obstruct. Hindmost, farthest from the front. Hindrance, an obstacle. Hirsute, having a hairy covering. Hoard, to gather and store away for the sake of accumulation. Hoarse, having the voice harsh or rough as from a cold or fatigue. Homage, reverential regard or worship. Homogeneity, congruity of the members or elements or parts. Homogeneous, made up of similar parts or elements. Homologous, identical in nature, makeup, or relation. Homonym, a word agreeing in sound with but different in meaning from another. Homophone, a word agreeing in sound with but different in meaning from another. Honorarium, a token fee or payment to a professional man for services. Hoodwink, to deceive. Horde, a gathered multitude of human beings. Hosiery, a stocking. Hospitable, disposed to treat strangers or guests with generous kindness. Hospitality, the practice of receiving and entertaining strangers and guests with kindness. Hostility, enmity. Huckster, one who retails small wares. Humane, compassionate. Humanitarian, a philanthropist. Humanize, to make gentle or refined. Humbug, anything intended or calculated to deceive or mislead. Humiliate, to put to shame. Hussar, a light horse trooper armed with saber and carbine. Hustle, to move with haste and promptness. Hybrid, crossbred. Hydra, the 7 or 9-headed water serpent slain by Hercules. Hydraulic, involving the moving of water, of the force exerted by water in motion. Hydrodynamics, the branch of mechanics that treats of the dynamics of fluids. Hydroelectric, pertaining to electricity developed by water or steam. Hydromechanics, the mechanics of fluids. Hydrometer, an instrument for determining the density of solids and liquids by flotation. Hydrostatics, the branch of science that treats of the pressure and equilibrium of fluids. Hydrous, watery. Hygiene, the branch of medical science that relates to improving health. Hypercritical, fault-finding. Hypnosis, an artificial trance sleep. Hypnotic, tending to produce sleep. Hypnotism, an artificially induced somnambulistic state in which the mind readily acts on suggestion. Hypnotize, to produce a somnambulistic state in which the mind readily acts on suggestions. Hypocrisy, extreme insincerity. Hypocrite, one who makes false professions of his views or beliefs. Hypodermic, pertaining to the area under the skin. Hypotenuse, the side of a right-angled triangle opposite the right angle. Hypothesis, a proposition taken for granted as a premise from which to reach a conclusion. Hysteria, a nervous affection occurring typically in paroxysms of laughing and crying. Ichthyic, fish-like. Ichthyology, the branch of zoology that treats of fishes. Ichthyosaurs, a fossil reptile. icily, frigidly.